We have spent a lot of time writing equations using that point slope form, so we are going to use it again. So go ahead and write use y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So when we are writing equations, we're going to use this point slope form. So the problem says write the equation of the line parallel, so circle the word parallel, to y equals 2/3 x plus 5 going through point 9, 4. So if it's parallel, what does that mean? What do they have the same of? They have the same slope. So in order to use our point slope form, we need a slope and we need an x1, y1. Because they've given us our equation in y equals mx plus b, they've given us our slope. So m equals 2/3. So just like before, we're going to use our point slope form. We're going to plug in m, and we're going to plug in an x1 and a y1. This is an x1, and this is a y1. So let's write our formula down. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. We're going to plug in. So it's y minus y1 is 4 equals m is 2/3. Keep your slope as a fraction. Don't change it to a decimal. Let's keep it all as fractions. And then x minus x1 is 9. So this is point slope form, but the way it's normally written is y equals mx plus b form. So now we're going to solve for y. So in order to solve for y, we have parentheses, so we're going to distribute. So it's 2/3 times x, so that'd be 2/3 x. And then 2/3 times a -4, or -9. So I would use my calculator. So alpha y equals, go ahead and type this in. We're going to multiply it times a -9 because that's what we're distributing it to. 2/3 times a -9. Push enter. And it's a -6 or -6. So equals y minus 4 equals 2/3 x minus 6. So remember I wanted to get it to be y equals mx plus b, so I need to get rid of this -4. So I do the opposite, so plus 4. You put it under the other like terms. It's not an x, it's just a constant. So we're going to put it under the -6. So this is y equals 2/3 x, and we have -6 plus 4. It's a -2. I do want to check these. So let's go to y equals, and let's graph our original, and then we're going to graph our new, and just make sure they are parallel. So everybody go to y equals. If you don't have a calculator, go grab it now. So in y1, put your original. 2/3 x plus 5. And in y2, put the one we just found, 2/3 x minus 2. Hit graph to see how it looks. And they should be parallel because they do have the same slope. And they are. So the only thing left to check is check and make sure that this point goes through 9, 4. So the way you can check points is go to the table. So hit second graph to get to the table. We want to make sure that y2, which is our second equation, goes through 9, 4. So I'm going to go on the x's, and I'm going to move it until I get to 9. And then make sure that the y2 is 4. See how it's 9, 4? So that means it went through the correct point, and it's parallel. So that means that we did it correctly. If you had a multiple choice question, you could put them in, y1 and y2, and see if they're parallel. And then you can look at the table to look at coordinates. Okay, let's go to the next one. Write the equation of a line perpendicular. So circle the word perpendicular. And we need to write what that means. Perpendicular means you're going to do the opposite reciprocal. That means you're going to change the sign, so it's a different sign, and flip the fraction. Different sign, flip the fraction of the slope. I'm going to have to write a lot smaller on this one because I don't have as much space, and I actually have a little bit more to do. This equation is not written in y equals mx plus b form where I can just say, okay, m is 2. Well, it's not, because this isn't in the right position. It's not in y equals mx plus b. So because it's in this form, we have to solve for y first. So 2x minus y equals 6. In order to know what the slope is, I got to get it to say y equals mx plus b. So we need to move the x. How do we move the x? Minus 2x. Your left cancels, and you're left with negative 6 equals. So remember how I want it to be mx plus b? So it's going to be negative 2x plus 6. You want your x value or x term to be first. And then our last step, we need to get this to say y equals, not negative y equals. So it's like you have a negative 1 up front, so you need to divide by a negative 1 all the way through. So y equals negative 2 over negative 1. It's a positive. Positive 6 divided by a negative 1. It's a negative 6. So now we know the original slope. But we need the perpendicular slope. So remember how I did the little symbol for perpendicular yesterday? Perpendicular m is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So this one's positive. So the opposite would be negative. Reciprocal, if this is 2, we flip it. Well, it's 2 over 1, so it's going to be negative 1 over 2. Okay, so that was all just to find our slope. So now we have to do the y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So let's plug in the numbers. So it's, oh, I need to label them, right? X1, Y1. So let's plug in y minus y1 is 5. M is negative 1 over 2. Parentheses, x minus a negative 3. Anytime you see a double negative, you need to simplify it. So let's keep it all the same, but simplify that double negative to be plus 3. Okay, we're doing the same thing. Distribute. Let's keep it as a fraction. Negative 1/2 times x. It's negative 1/2 x. And then negative 1/2 times 3 is negative 3 over 2. And then carry down the left side. Fractions are just numbers, so don't be scared of them. And we still need to get y by itself, so what do we need to do? Plus 5 to both sides underneath the constant term. We still have this in our calculator. So what you can do is you can arrow up and push enter to bring it down. And then you can do plus 5. And it gives you what you need, 7 over 2. But what if it's written as a decimal? You can have your calculator change it by going to math. Which one am I going to pick if I wanted to change it to a decimal? Number 2, dec. So it could be, you could write this either way, but I usually like to keep my slope as a fraction because it's rise over run. All right, let's go ahead and graph it. Y equals, clear out what's in there. So we want to put in the original. This is our original. 2x minus 6. And then the new one is negative 1/2 x plus 3.5. The y-intercept, I don't care if it's a decimal or a fraction, but the slope, I want it to be a fraction. As long as it's not repeating. If it's a repeating decimal, then put it as a fraction. All right, so you should have these in. Look and make sure you have the same y1, y2 as me. Now hit graph. Okay, it doesn't quite, I mean, it looks close. Remember yesterday how I had y'all square it up? You go to zoom and click on Z square. So everybody do that so that it actually looks perpendicular like it's supposed to. We want to square it up. So hit the button for zoom, which is one of the top buttons right here in white. And we're going to go down to number 5. And now it squares it up. And it looks perpendicular now. If you were to turn it, see how it looks like a plus sign? That's what you want. Then the last thing to check is make sure that y2 goes through negative 3, 5. So hit second graph, which is your table. Go to where x is negative 3 and make sure that the y is 5. So negative 3, 5. So we did it right. So you're going to glue this in, and you have a quizzes. There are 5 problems like these two that you have to show work, but the other ones you don't have to show work on.